Tonight, our series, 400 Years, the Vestiges of Slavery in Cleveland, continues. The city's had its share of high-profile police-involved deaths, from Tanisha Anderson to Tamir Rice.
Absolutely. A federal report actually found Cleveland police officers engaged in a pattern of excessive force. Harry Boomer with this candid conversation between police and the youth.
So I got to work with officers on a closer basis, a more, personal basis. And I was, you guys aren't all bad. Oh my goodness, you're some amazing individuals, and some beautiful people.
Sergeant Charmin Leon is the officer in charge of public safety recruitment for Cleveland. As she advanced in her police career, she had to face another, more sinister reality: racism.
It's heartbreaking. Of course, I've seen it.
She ran into a culture that shocked and disturbed her, often hidden behind the blue shield: racism. It manifested itself in a way some white police officers treat African Americans.
Officers fired 137 shots at two unarmed suspects inside a vehicle, killing both of them.
She died saying the Lord's Prayer, so we're hoping that, Tanisha's words is still with God.
I'm in this fight for justice for Tamir.
People need to know, even when I am pulled over, I am nervous. But my heart is still at the same time beating like this.
Sergeant Leon knows mistreatment didn't start in modern-day police departments.
When we talk about the vestiges of slavery, when we talk about modern-day policing in the United States, was born out of slave patrols.
As if we had a ball and chain on us, a physical ball and chain that became a mental ball and chain.
Cleveland Municipal Court Judge Michael Nelson is the former president of the Cleveland NAACP. He has fought for equal rights as a lawyer and as a civil rights leader for decades.
To the extent that even after slavery ended, there were those of us who were more comfortable living under the rule of white Americans, as opposed to us taking advantage of the opportunity that we had to be free. That also exists even to this day, when you see people saying, well, look, voting doesn't matter. Nothing's going to change for us.
Even after nearly 250 years of slavery, ways were created to keep blacks in the South under the thumb of white landowners. De facto slavery by another name: Jim Crow.
White supremacy. The long-term consequences is that we have a society that is inherently unequal, based on race.
The practices of controlling and over-policing blacks may have had their roots in the distant past, but there are present-day effects that threaten America's black and brown.
There's the cops with guns pointed at every window in my car.
Levite Pierre recalls getting pulled over and the terror he and his friends felt, and the emotional and mental scars they still carry because of a life-threatening traffic stop.
It's me, Obasi, and like two other young black men. One of my friends is just the whole time hands up, saying like, please don't shoot me, please don't shoot me. Me, I'm just like in disbelief that I'm looking down the barrel of a gun for the first time in my life. And like, in that instant, I'm just thinking like, my life isn't up to me anymore, They can just like, I can move wrong and die.
The threat and fear are real. A Cleveland program empowering youth, exploring justice, brings police and youth together to talk.
Like, just because they're perceived a certain way on television or perceived like that, we shouldn't be afraid of them. Just like we perceived a certain way on TV, they shouldn't be afraid of us.
And 99% of us, we don't want to be perceived as a warrior. Because honestly, at the end of the day, I'm just like you.
I could honestly tell you, as a law enforcement officer, I wasn't always wearing this uniform. You know what I mean? I was a kid once, and I used to hate police once too. You know what I mean? I didn't talk to them, So I feel when they come from that way, but it also hurts when I see the fact that at home they're not changing that either.
Because on one hand, we have children, and on the other hand, we have adults. Right. So I believe it's the adults who need to take that step first, because there are different consequences. For us, our consequence is our lives. For a lot of police officers, there is no consequence.
Because once we understand each other, then we know how to handle situations and come to a solution and how to work together.
The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reported in 2014 black males accounted for 34% of the total male prison population. That's 5 times the incarceration rate of whites. There are many factors: poor education, fewer good jobs leading to poverty.
You cannot put every problem out outside of the control of the black community. White racism does not necessarily cause a father to abandon their children.
The negative cultural and social effects of racism have played a major role in what we think and hear when it comes to the vestiges of slavery. In our next report, we look at Dr. Carter G. Woodson's pronouncement of the miseducation of America's people of color. That's Thursday evening at 6 on 19 News.
I love this series because we are not only saluting those who deserve it, we're tackling subjects that need it. And if the institution of racism is alive, then our institution, Harry Boomer, is the proper man to lend it the proper voice.
Like what they said at the beginning of our series, is that some of these stories are going to make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah.
But it is about sitting down and having dialogue, and that's definitely what has sparked this.
Incredible work continues. We hope you continue to watch.